Fist in the Pocket started something new in Italy. The film is at the same time incredibly strong and powerful and very, very atrocious. I didn't know when I saw it then, in '65, that the film had this kind of disagreeable, sgradevole side. It's a film that resists so well to these 40 years that have passed. So let's imagine Italy in the mid-60s. A year earlier, I came out with a film called Before the Revolution. And when A Fist in the Pocket opened, I felt, okay, between this film and my film, we can say that a kind of young, new Italian cinema is born. In Italy, in these early mid-60s, we were kind of squished by the neorealistic cinema, like Rossellini, De Sica, Visconti's movies, then there was Antonioni. It didn't happen in Italy what had happened in France, for example, the Nouvelle Vague, the new wave. Marco, he was studying at the Centro Sperimentale, the National Film School in Rome. I didn't go to school. My school was being on the set of Pasolini with his first film, Accattone. Anyway, I met socially Marco a few times. We are born in two cities quite close to each other. Parma, I come from Parma, and Marco comes from Piacenza. 50, 60 kilometers. And yet, these are two very different cities. Parma is a city which has a constant look for elegance, aestheticism. Piacenza is a tough city. Both movies are, in a way, very autobiographical. We have on one side the ideological and sentimental education of a young bourgeois middle class intellectual in Before the Revolution, and at the end is reabsorbed after his attempt of being revolutionary, reabsorbed in his class. Again, Parma, Before the Revolution, the sweetness, the desperate sweetness of life. No sweetness of life in Piacenza. I Pugni in Tasca, Fist in the Pocket is a very, very aggressive story of a little microcosm, a villa in the hills, very often surrounded by mist or drizzled little rain, where this family lives, a blind mother, Alessandro, the protagonist of the film, his young sister, a brother who is kind of a representation of the conformism of the middle class, not really very sympathetic. And then the youngest brother is retarded. So this life, which represents really the conformism of a class, has to be in some way blown up by Alessandro, who is the protagonist, an extraordinary actor, first-time actor, I think, Lou Castel, who reminded me in some moment of the young Marlon Brando because of intensity. It's a kind of moving bomb, always ready to explode. Fist in the Pocket is not a directly political film, but in a transversal way, it is very, very political. The protest of Alessandro, instead of being against the class he belongs to, it's against the family. So he will free the house first from the for him, embarrassing figure of his mother, and then from the more embarrassing figure of his retarded brother. Marco, the way he directs the actors and the way he directs Luke Castle, in some way I can feel that there is a knowledge of acting which, for example, personally I didn't have. And I have to recognize that especially in that moment with these two movies, the actor's direction in Fist in the Pocket is probably more complete, more congruous than the one of Before the Revolution. And I think this is also the difference between the style of his cinema and the style of my cinema. Pasolini, who was dividing cinema in two different channels, would have called Fist in the Pocket cinema in prose. And he would have called Before the Revolution cinema in poetry. The prose of Marco has an extraordinary quality of a realism which is not directly descending from the Italian neorealism, but more from the realism at the end of the 50s and the early 60s in the English cinema. I was completely for the French Nouvelle Vague, Godard, Truffaut. Marco was very much for the English free cinema, like Lindsay Anderson. There aren't certain extreme stylistic decisions like making the audience aware that there is a camera, like I did. Marco's style is more on a camera that you don't feel much. Marco's style is, in a way, less exhibitionistic than my style. A sequence which I liked seeing very much was a sequence where Alessandro is taken by his cynical and mediocre brother to a party, and he feels lonely in the party. He doesn't dance. He doesn't want to drink much. But he feels lonely, but in fact, from his position, he's sitting and looking the others who are dancing, a very, very ludicrous cha-cha-cha of 65. We can see that he is detached, that he sees the others and he sees them from a position, which is his POV, of total detachment. Maybe he's thinking of killing all these stupid kids. But Alessandro is a Dostoevskian serial killer, in the sense that it's not clear. You really understand that for Marco, Alessandro is like a myth, a mythological character. Maybe in my early movies especially, there is a kind of search for virtuosismo. This is a danger that Marco doesn't have at all. Anyway, 40 years later, I've seen Fist in the Pocket again, and I must say, if I don't meet him, I will say him through this occasion, Marco, well done, it's a great movie.